Everyone in this presentation lives in Botetourt County. Everyone who is presenting because they love Botetourt County. And if I get too loud, tell me to back it down a little bit, okay? But we are all volunteers. The 4 speakers that you're going to see tonight, they're all volunteers. They're all people who have taken their time to put their presentations together, to gather the data, and there's been a lot of work gone into gathering the data. We want to present clear data so that you will know what's going on. If you would, let's go to the next one. The data center for here in Botetourt County is referred to as a hyperscale data center. In its final form, it will be 3 or 4 or possibly even more data centers. There is an agreement between Google and the Economic Development Authority, between Google and the Utilities Western Virginia Regional Water Authority, and also involving Botetourt County. They've got 5 years for each data center to be operational. It will have a 20-year operation, is what they've planned for. They have no requirement to complete the project, no requirement to complete any of the data centers. And the agreement provides no requirement for Google to provide expansion of supply of their increased water and electric demand. What I have before you right now is a detailed timeline of what's happened. This has been going on for well over 2 years, probably way in excess of that. This is just what we know. If you look and see, when we really knew about it was June the 24th of 2025. In November of 26, they made a zoning change and denied that this had anything to do with a data center or with Google. They flat out denied it.
You mean they lied?
Yes. And so September the 10th, the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors agreed to pay for $200 million for a new water source.
How nice for Google.
And we'll talk about the water in more detail. These are the things that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about a cash flow analysis. The only thing that's good about this, some say, is that the Botetourt County government will receive some taxes from Google. And but I'll go over the details of that. We'll talk about the water consumption. We'll talk about electric power, the vapor generated, the noise, environment, and we'll talk about other things. At the end of the program, we're going to have a Q&A. And so I would like to ask you, if you have questions, you think of questions along the way, jot them down on a piece of paper and ask them at the end of the session, because we have a lot to cover. All right, let's go on. Getting back to the timeline, it was February the 24th of 2026 that the Western Virginia Water Authority finally released the data on the water that would be required, and they only did that because they lost a lawsuit. And then on that same date, Botetourt County acknowledged that we were going to be out of water in 2030 instead of 2060. Okay, let's go on. Next one. There we go. Go on. Okay, this is some of the details. Google's given us some upfront money, $2.25 million, paying for fire trucks, police cars, paying for rescue squads, various other things, $300,000 for a library. All those costs are sunk. In other words, They're sunk by agreement. We don't have, if Google does not complete this project, Botetourt County will not pay them back. There will be an additional concessions of Google that totals about $1.75 million in 5 years. Now this most certainly isn't a positive thing, but why is Google coming here? Google is coming to Virginia because they are getting a minimum of a $31 million tax break in sales for the equipment that they install. That's why they're coming here. That's why they're coming to Virginia. And that's minimum. $31 million that we are not collecting from them by agreement. All right, I'm also going to go over, I'm going to do a cash flow estimate of the taxes that they will pay. No one has provided this information to me. I've just taken the big numbers that Google has provided, or not Google, but whatever I can scrub off of anything, and to come up with a good cash flow analysis. There's a lot of detail here. I don't expect you to recognize these numbers, but it's just like your taxes are being calculated, except Google has a lower tax rate. There will be real estate taxes on the land and building. There will be machinery taxes on their process equipment like cooling towers and diesel generators. There will be business personal property taxes that they pay on their electronics. Let's go on to the next one. This is a detailed calculation. I went out, you just see 9 years here. I went out 23 years, 3 years to build it, and then start collecting a bigger amount of the taxes. Year 1, you see they're relatively small, and then in year 4, when it starts in earnest, we should get about almost 16 million in taxes to the Botetourt County government. That decreases every year, you see here, all the way out to year 8, or year 9, to about 5 million. It does that because of the depreciation of the equipment. And you see it's a very, very distorted way of paying to the county, and see how disruptive that will be to us. Let's go to the next one. I also looked at, I tried to do an analysis. They keep on saying it's $10 million every year. And so I did a time value of money calculation, and what it's actually about worth is $8.6 million with the estimates I've made per year if you flatten everything out and consider the time value of money. The net present value of the cash flows is $106 million. That is, if you took all the money that Google's going to pay us and you paid us today, it would be worth $106 million. With a $300 million investment in new water, we have a courthouse that's under construction that was estimated to cost and budgeted to cost $30 million. Well, now it's at $40 million. The $200 million that we've committed to will probably end up at $300 million. Don't think it's going to stay at that fixed number. If we do a break-even analysis and you add up all the money that we would receive, actually over here, and then you take out a cut for Roanoke City, it's not clear yet if Roanoke City is going to get 15% of the receipts. They have asked for it, and I don't know what the status of that is, but cumulatively, this is what the county would receive from Google. Each year adding up, you see that in 23 years of operation, we've only collected $222 million. $222 million, and we're putting out $300 million to give their water. If you look at the break even for one data center it doesn't break even in 20 years. For 2 data centers, it breaks even in 20 years. And for 3 data centers, it breaks even in 17 years. Let me ask you a question. I'm a mechanical engineer and I sell real estate, okay? So I understand numbers. I understand what houses and investment properties worth. But if you were going to buy a rental house, who in here would buy a rental if I told you it was going to take you 17 years to break even? No one. I get it. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is Botetourt County's financial analysis. You saw everything that I did, and that was only a little portion of all the numbers that I had to calculate. It ended up being at least 9 pages when I did the full-blown cash flow analysis. They did 5 pages. I mean, five years worth. They don't know what they have. They don't have a clue. So, me as a private citizen puts this together, and the county, of all the resources that they have, has not done it. Now, I filed a Freedom of Information Act, and this is what they sent me. This is all they've looked at, if they've looked at it. The Botetourt County Board of Supervisors could have done this in the bathroom on a sheet of toilet paper.
Agree.
They haven't done their job. And when we go out, we need to tell our neighbors that. Because the people that support Google, they think, oh, the government's getting $10 million a year. Well, okay. So we're getting the Botetourt County government, and I would separate myself from the government. I'm not the same as them. May get $8.6 million a year. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Go back one, if we can do that. There we go. I've already mentioned that the cash flow is very uneven, and what will happen as a result of that, there will be negotiations with Google, and who's going to come out ahead when Botetourt County negotiates with Google? We're going to suffer, the taxpayers. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, now what does $10 million a year mean to us in Botetourt County? $10 million to me is a lot of money. If I had $10 million, I would have really put together a nice program, okay? But I don't have $10 million. But let's really look at what $10 million looks like to Botetourt County. All right, let's go on. This graph, I keep track of the budgets in Botetourt County. These are actual spending in Botetourt County since 2013, okay? And last year, in FY25, it concluded last June, the Botetourt County government budget was $97.3 million, okay? In 2013, the budget actual spent was $50 million. You see, is this line going up or is it going down? That's right. And it's going up every year. The only reason this happened was because they juggled some spending around probably, and they had to show that they paid it. All right, let's go to the next one. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I busting anybody's eardrums? Okay, good.
Say it loud.
Sorry.
Say it loud.
Okay, this graph. All right, these are the long-term obligations of the county. Now stands at, well, I don't have that actual figure there, so I won't try to look at it close enough to tell you what it is. But in the last in the 5-year period, our long-term obligations have doubled. That means our debt is increasing, constantly going up at a rate of $3 million a year. And it's been driven by all that spending. And all the while, our general fund is increasing. And we've got an investment fund sitting at $57 million. And we just issued another bond in the process of $26 million. $26 million. So what's going to happen next year? Just like it did here, it's going to, boom, you're going to be up here. Our debt increasing. All this information is taken from the annual audit of Botetourt County, and you can find all this on your own. You can verify these numbers. Now, I hate to bore you with all these numbers,
Please bore us.
but you need to understand this. Now, if the population of Botetourt County had doubled in the last 10 years, I would say maybe the budget should have gone up a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. Whoops. Oh, got ahead of myself. This, FY25, what happened in Botetourt County? We had to pay our taxes. I mean, our taxes went up on real estate by $8.8 million. All the members of the Board of Supervisors told me we didn't raise taxes.
Bullshit.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? They raised them $8.8 million, and they told us they didn't raise them. And where are we headed? We're not headed down. And you probably remember back just a few years ago when the values of automobiles went up, used cars. You remember how much your cars went up? I don't, because mine's over 20 intentionally. But they didn't give you a break on your personal property. The taxes went way up. Let's go to the next one. Now this is the population growth. This is from 2009 to FY 2025 and ended in June. These numbers are from the county. They're from a research outfit in Charlottesville. So our population hasn't grown. I believe it's gone up some because of all these apartments.
Well, it's gone up by one at least.
But they've been pretty steady, but they haven't gone up by 10,000, okay? It's right at 33,500, okay? All right, let's go on to the next one. Botetourt County Board of Supervisors has a spending problem, and that's our problem. It's not they don't have a revenue problem, they got a spending problem. Virginia and Botetourt County Board of Supervisors are giving a minimum of a $31 million sales exemption tax break to Google for the purchase of their equipment. And that's just not for them to purchase and install the equipment. That recurs every 4, 5, or 6 years when they buy new equipment. It recurs that they get that benefit. And the last thing we have here is you pay $2.71 for your personal property tax. You pay $2.71 if you pay for a machinery tax. Google, by agreement, is going to pay $2.47. If this figure goes to $4 for us, Google pays $2.40 by agreement. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right. I want to move to water usage. How many of you in here own a laptop? What happens when you set your laptop on your lap and you're working on it? It gets hot. Well, that's exactly the way the equipment is for Google. They've got to cool all this equipment. Now, so they've got to have a lot of water to do it. Each data center may require up to 8 million gallons a day. They say that they will require 3.5 million gallons a day. Now, why do I say 8 million gallons a day?
Because they're liars. They know better.
Okay. Well, I say it because a new 16-inch diameter pipe has been installed from Carvin's Cove, and it's on the way to Greenfield. They've already finished it. I think it's all finished all the way from Carvin's Cove to the Botetourt County line. and they finished a section on the road between Lee Highway and maybe up to around exit 150. I don't know how far they went. The capacity, I can calculate the capacity of a 16-inch water line. It's 6,000 gallons a minute, or 8.64 million gallons per day. And that's what they've got to have on day one, okay? With one data center, that's what they say. What do they really have to have? I don't know, but I know what they've planned for, and I know they're not telling me the same thing that they're planning for. I will tell you, I stopped while they were working on that pipe, and I took my pull tape out there, and I measured the ID of the pipe. That's how I found this out. And I had driven it by it time and time and time again, and I didn't know, what's that water for? And then I said, so then I requested a Freedom of Information request from the Western Virginia Regional Water Authority, and they sent me the whole project. I wish I had looked at it again to know what the date was, but I will guarantee you it was more than 3 years ago. Okay? Yeah, that's right. So now let's talk about something else here. We are giving Google drinking water to cool their equipment. How many of you have driven by a power plant? How many of you have driven by a chemical plant? How many a paper plant? What do you notice about every one of them?
Stink to high heaven.
Well, they may stink. Yep, that's right. What else? A lot of vapor coming up. But what else? They're all beside a river. Why? Because they use very, very much water. And so what power plants do is they bring the water in, and they use it one time through to cool their equipment, and they put it right back out into the river. So they heat it up a little bit, but not enough to heat the river up. So what does that mean? It means that they don't consume that water. They just use it one time through, it goes right back out, and everything's okay. They don't have to treat it, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to treat this water. But what's going to happen with our drinking water from Carvin's Cove? It's going to come into Google, and they're going to use an evaporative process. They're going to use cooling towers. And so that water is, a portion of it is going into the atmosphere and being, rain on somebody else, okay?
That water's going to be treated in the cooling towers.
Yes, it is going to be. Absolutely. They'll add chlorine, bromine, and other things to kill the living organisms in the water. That's right. So now they tell us that Carvin's Cove tells us that they have a capacity of 24 million gallons per day. That's what they say. But I looked at their audit, and they said in their audit, year after year after year, it says 14 to 18 million gallons a day, year after year after year. And so what have they factored in there? They factored in drought. They factored in other problems that could deplete our water supply. We are not factoring that in with Google. We're taking the water. And they plan to pull it out at 24 million gallons a day because that's their filtering capacity. And what else is going to happen? At 24 million gallons a day, they're not going to be able to maintain their equipment because they won't be able to take anything offline to maintain it. All right, let's go on to the next one, please. Another thing about our water supply and haven't heard anyone say anything about. Blacksburg, somewhere on the street. It says this is a dividing point of the Eastern Continental Divide.
It's on Route 42.
It's on Route 42. Yes, it is. It's probably along the Christiansburg, Floyd County line or Montgomery County, Floyd County line. What does that mean? Well, it's only about 40 miles or so to Blacksburg, maybe less than that, the way the crow flies. That means that there's only 30 miles of water behind us. We don't have 200 miles of water behind us. We don't have 100 miles of water behind us. We've got 30 miles of water behind us. That's it. That's not much water. I don't care how you cut it. Now, I'm not from the Northeast, but I know one thing I was impressed by from the Northeast. You get up there and those people got water. We don't have water here, not like they do there. There's a lot of other places that don't have near as much as we do. All right, let's go on. With data centers, you've got all this cooling that takes place. So everything that gets heated up that has to be cooled is actually heated up by electricity, and that's caused by the inefficiency of the electronics. Just like on your lap, the heat you feel there is the inefficiency of your electronics. But you've got a fan blowing through there and big heat sinks to keep your laptop cool. Well, they use some means to do that, and that means is power. That to keep the electronics going. This is just an estimate. At 135 megawatts, I believe we're pretty close on that number. That's the equivalent to 362 trucks. The Truck Stops of America in Troutville, they just had 129 parking spaces. It wasn't beside your neighborhood, the Truck Stops of America. And if they use a 1 megawatt diesel generator, they will have 144 diesel generators. More than likely, though, they'll use a 2 megawatt diesel generator, and they'll have 72 of these. I don't know if you've ever seen a data center or not, but I have. And you can look at those little pictures from overhead, and lots of them have 18 on a side. They're these little things, well, they're really big, and there's 18 of them on side. Sometimes you'll find 36 on a side. And so this is a very real number. If we have half, if we have 72 diesel generators, those have to be run whether there's a loss of power or not. You have to run them. They run them for maintenance purposes and availability purposes for 15 minutes every 2 weeks. So if you have 72 diesel generators, they're going to be running about 40 hours a week. You're going to hear that. And that doesn't mention when you lose power. I was putting this presentation together today, making some changes. I never lose power in Cloverdale, but I lost power. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to have to do? But and I'm sure Google's power is going to be reliable, but they've got those diesel generators there for a reason, and they will need them. I just tried to quantify some of the diesel that would be consumed. 7,100 gallons a month, just for maintenance now, just to run them for a set period of time, and produce 770,000 pounds per month, equating to 61,500,000 cubic feet per month. All right, I know it's a lot of numbers, but you need to hear these. I've got this available to whoever wants it, and I'll be happy to share it. And we do have some things that are summaries that'll have some of this information. Okay. All right. Vapor generation. How they're cooling this is through evaporative cooling towers, and at 8 million gallons per day, they will produce 385,500 cubic feet per minute. That's per minute. Or you can think of it as a container that's 73 feet by 73 feet by 73 feet every minute. And that's before you add air into it. You got to add a whole lot more air into it to keep it from condensing and falling out. There will be some condensation. If you're in the prevailing wind, you will have condensation on your vehicles, your house, your yard. get on your cattle, your dogs, your cats, it will get there. Local clouds may be generated depending on what the temperature and humidity is. And improperly maintained cooling towers have some serious side effects. People have died in our area from the Legionella bacteria. I remember in 1996 when a guy died in Christiansburg from a hot tub in a Lowe's store. And if you Google this thing, it happens all the time. Most recently, there was a Disney cooling tower issue, and people died. Okay, so it does happen, and there will be chemical contamination, chlorine and bromine. Let's go on to the next one. All right, let's go on. Okay, let's see. What do I do now? I told you to get to the point I wouldn't know what to do, right? Here you go, Jesse. Hold that for him.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Danny.
Okay, you're welcome.
Give them a round of applause.
Let's see.
Thinking maybe we skip